Utah. I'm the facilities program director for the division. So my operations are statewide. I deal with a lot of counties and with what we do and the facilities that we're occupying. So my background, I'm a master electrician, have been since 1990. Been around quite a bit, done a lot of electrical, doesn't make me an expert. How many in here have an electrical background? Got a few of us, good. So correct me if I'm wrong. If I say something, please join in. I don't want to get into a lot of horror stories with you, but this building right here is it's a Calvin Rampton building. It's the headquarters for the DOT and public safety. About 10 years ago, we had an electrical fire. And I want to give you this history so you understand where I'm at now and the direction that we're going with our program. On a Thursday, lights dim, power shut down, got a flicker in the building, generator fired up, had the fire department come out, had the fire marshal come out as well. There was smoke about shoulder high. We could not find anything. Happened about noon, we evacuated the building. We went through everything that afternoon. Building was cleared, we reoccupied it. The next day, we got a lot of arcing from the electrical panel, and we shut the entire building down. We had a fairly major electrical fire. Burned through the metal cabinets. It's a 3,000 amp main, 480 volts. Generator was running, no power in the building. So what happened is, you can see the wires right there, you can see this bus bar right here. That bus bar, there was two bus bars that bolt together, and then all of the breakers tie into it throughout the distribution. So we started tearing it apart, we started coming across a lot of this stuff. We ended up replacing the whole unit. It was a Friday afternoon. The significance of this is right here. We spent $10,000 in restoring finishes, $58,000 in the replacement of the UPS system. The 3,000 amp main cost us $413,000 to replace it. We had equipment, fuel for generators, equipment rental, all of those types of things. That was $6,000. Labor costs $4,500 per hour. That significance was $535,000 in 24 hours is what we spent. Okay, we were able to bring this thing back online. I had it back open for business Monday morning. But we had, I utilized every resource I had from the electrical trades, contractors I knew, suppliers I knew. We had the equipment built Friday night. It was shipped to us Saturday morning. They were installing it Saturday night, pulling all new wires, and back up and running Monday morning. The building is the headquarters. It has an EOC in it. It has all your main communications hub for DOT. Public safety's in there. The labor hours alone, just if they were to be down, was $208,000 a day. Is what they figured it would cost them to labor. Not to mention the inability to be able to respond to an emergency if they had to. So, what I want to talk about is some of the things that we're doing now since that happened. We've gone to infrared scanning. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that. I brought one here for you to play around with if you want to. Prior to that, we were using those little point and shoot guns, little laser pointers that give you a little temperature reading. Our requirements are that every electrical panel be scanned on a yearly basis. That was adopted by the state's building board. Well, those little scanners, sometimes I like to throw them away because they're really good for pinpointing something, but they're not really good at finding a problem. And if you look at it, right here with the infrared, there's the panel right there. You wouldn't see anything. But if you come down here and look, you can see that that wire right there is pretty hot. And there's a lot of different things that will cause it. It can be an unbalanced load. It can be loose connections, overloaded, bad breakers, there's a ton of different things that can do it. Same thing with this panel. You go through and look at it, doesn't look really anything bad. The old tried and true method, we used to pull wires. We used to pull the panel covers off, we'd look at it, see if there was discoloration, put a screwdriver on it, tighten it down, panel's hot the whole time. Can't do that anymore. We have so many requirements with OSHA and the code requirements through arc flash protection and requirements that you have to have for your employees that are actually doing this work now. It makes it extremely difficult to work on things hot, which is, I'm old school. That's what I used to do. So we started doing the infrareds. It has multiple functions. You can check your motors, you can junction boxes. This was another electrical panel. I've used it in mechanical. I've used it in steam traps, your boilers, VAV boxes. So you can actually sit and physically use that infrared now where you couldn't before, and be able to pinpoint a lot of different things and see variances from one side to another. So we've kind of gone to that direction. We're still working through the building board. We're changing the requirements. I've been doing this now for about 5 years. When I first started using them, the first FLIR we bought was $50,000. I bought this one about 7 years ago. That was about $7,000. And right now I have about 15 of these throughout the state. You guys can pass that around. More about them to use it. They're now with it. But I have about 15 of the little FLIRs out there right now that are about $1,700. So they're really becoming affordable for you, your employees to use as you go through and you're looking at things. The education that was required with them before, FLIR, I had to go through a certification. It was a 3-day course. I had to go back to Santa Fe to do it, or San Antonio to do it. They still have those, but these things are so simple to use anymore that it really does help you as you're going around and taking care of your electrical. Yes?
Do they recommend like a thermography course? I mean, is there something like a real basic level one around here? Or?
They do recommend it. Both Fluke and FLIR do. We haven't recommended it as a state, for our buildings that we manage. Again, right now I'm just trying to get them into the hands of the people that are using them. And it's evolving. I mean, that cost is, like I said, it used to be cost prohibitive. Now it really is very effective. So what I have found, some of my problems here with that camera, probably not. Probably not, but I guarantee I could at least been able to track and see what things were going on. The reason I couldn't have found this one is it was buried inside of the electrical distribution center. So you have basically you have the face, you have the breakers. Behind that plate that the breakers bolted to is where the bus bars were. This happened to be back into those bus bars. So the direction that we're looking at, again, like I said, we're trying to change the policies of the board. This is the first step. I'm doing this on an annual basis. And now I'm starting to look into ultrasonic testing. When I first looked at that about 5 years ago, for a building, it was about $20,000. That price has come down. I don't think it's necessary, with my experience. I haven't felt that it was necessary to do that on an annual basis. But I have felt that it's probably necessary to do that at least at a minimum every 5 years. I'd like to see it every 3 years. It's a cost. It's a cost as facilities managers that you got to plan for and kind of budget for that. So you've heard it all day long. Plan, prepare, understand what your costs are going to be. Look at where you're going. Try and plan for some of those renewal expenses. The same thing. Use the tools.
Let's get into like a transformer and tell you what's going on in there.
It will. Yeah, we are actually using it on the transformers as well.
Like motors, all electric.
Not all electric. Like I said, you can use it on your boilers, your chillers. Steam tramps, it'll show you variances in temperatures. You can set for hot or cold, or what you want it to do, so.
We actually had a FLIR unit on a helicopter fly over one of our buildings at night, and it showed us where we had moisture in our roof. Based on different times of days and things like that, you can find moisture too.
That's actually that $50,000 FLIR is that's what we bought it for. And then we started finding the value in using it for other things. You know, like all you guys, we have older buildings, we have leaky windows, those types of things. We use this for the same purpose. You know, I can find mold in a wall with it. And so we'll hang it out for you guys to do that. So, back on the electrical, like I said, I don't know how many of you have electricians that work for you. You know, that arc flash requirement, it's becoming pretty sticky. You know, the clothing you have to wear, the protective gear you have to wear, all of your, you know, those OSHA requirements. In fact, I just went through a deal with OSHA. We got fined. I had a guy changing a ballast in the courthouse live, put the wires, pull the fuse, but they fined us for working on it. So,
They have a standard procedure.
yeah, that's what I mean. You can't always shut things down, and so you go to the equipment, the gear, and those types of things to work on. So they're still working through that. They have another hearing with them again next week, and so we'll see where that goes. But it may cause me to go into shift work. I may have to have people working at nights now because of this. So it's a challenge. Electrical's always a challenge. As you guys know, you guys deal with it. I mean, you have your fairgrounds, you have all of your smaller buildings, older courthouses throughout the counties. You know, you have the dust, the dirt, the moisture that you're dealing with in the fairgrounds. You have the liabilities of, you know, if somebody drops in a tank heater for the watering trough so the ice so it'll freeze up. I've seen the GFIs go bad. I've seen horses electrocuted from it. So, you know, those are things that you have to be aware of. You have to watch it. And so, if you can document your plans and document your program, you know, make sure you are testing your GFIs regularly, reporting on everything, testing your electronic panels or your electric panels, your transformers annually. Any of the evidence you have like this, if something fails, you know, you have it. If somebody were to be electrocuted, you have your history, so it's all your documentation. And I've heard that several times today on some of the things that, you know, you guys need to be tracking. You know, I live in Twilla County. I work in the county. I don't work for the county. I've done some stuff for the county, so kind of rural type things, a little slower, and you know, everybody knows what's going on with that county out there this past year. So I've been working with them to try and rebuild their facilities group. I used to live in Grand County, used to take care of a lot of their stuff. So what I'm getting at is you're all dealing with the same thing, myself included, whether it be a 3,000 amp panel or a 100 amp circuit. It's still electrical, you still got the same requirements. You still need to make sure your things are clean, things are tight, and everything's tested out. So now that, again, like I said, this was just the guys that we brought in.
Could you have known that bus bar was the problem with this?
I don't think I could have.
When it's behind all that stuff?
I don't think I could have. And that's why I'm looking at the ultrasonic technologies too. That's fairly new. It's 5 to 7 years is what that's been around. There's only a couple companies in the state that I know do it. Right now I'm currently working with state purchasing to make sure it's on a purchasing contract, which is, it's beneficial to the counties as well because you're more welcome to use those contracts if your counties have adopted to use them. So that's what I'm looking at. You know, we have State Hospital, American Fork Developmental Center, all of those entities can be able to use it that way.
Is there places maybe you could rent these? We're in way rural Utah.
Right.
And so,
The ultrasonics, I don't.
or just the infrared ones?
Actually, I would recommend just buying them. I think it's an easy sell. to your counties, to your administrators for the $1,700, just in the safety of your employees doing the work.
You're saying we can get these for 1,700? Initially, I heard you say 7, and I thought.
That one was 7,000,
All right, okay.
yeah.
The other thing too is fire departments, a lot even your rural fire departments, they usually have these,
Yeah.
and you can borrow it if you wanna walk through your building once a year, grab it from your fire department.
Good idea.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that one. I just wanted to put down some of the things here for infrared uses. Electrical troubleshooting, preventative care, motors, bearings, boilers and chillers, steam traps, plumbing, leak detection in walls and ceilings. Most of you guys mentioned those already. So, I'm not really here selling that technology. I'm just saying it is a great tool for you guys to use. It's, like I said, it's a safety issue for your employees, yourselves, especially with the requirements that we have now. It really doesn't take much to electrocute somebody. I had a friend of mine that it's happened to. I didn't like going to his house and telling his wife that he was in the ICU. I didn't like seeing him with the skin peeled off of him and no hair. So I hate to paint the horror pictures, but it's there. And so, really, whatever tools you use, this just happens to be one of them. Anything you can do to protect your safety, your employees' safety, your liabilities, you're managing that risk, that liability of your employees. Anything that you can do to do that, I would recommend it. And that's why I said for the $1,700, that's inexpensive insurance. The other thing, when we're back on electrical, there are a lot of exclusions in your electrical policies. I know there is in the states. I was fortunate. I was able to get our state risk management to pay for this one. A year later, I had some underground wiring fell, not covered. That was about $175,000. Our risk, our insurance, any underground piping, any underground wiring is not covered. So, it's the unfortunate realm of facilities management. As we talk about, other means and methods of electrical maintenance, like I said, the old tried and true method, shut down and tighten, that works great. You can do it on some of your fairgrounds when you don't have events. You can shut things down, go in there and tighten all your connections. You could over-maintain too, so just a word of caution. Ultrasonic testing. That's what we were kind of talking about as well. Again, it's a new technology. Really what the ultrasonic's doing is trying to find the corona, which is, it's ionized air basically around your electrical connections. You usually see it in higher amperages, but you get carbon tracing, you get that arcing, and the ultrasound or ultrasonic will pick that arcing up of those connections. And so you're able to pick up a lot of different things that you can't physically see. So for a lot of your smaller buildings, the infrared, that's really easy. It's when you get into the large, 3,000 amps, 1,000 amps, when you have multiple conductors, parallel feeds, those types of things, it gets a little more difficult. The other part of this is I wanted to talk, this is going to kind of lead into the next conversation as well. But it's utilizing the same technology. About a year ago, and I'm still working through this one right now. This is the State Board of Education. We had what we thought was a boiler failure. What it turned out to be was poor maintenance. We've tore down the boilers, we've cleaned them, we've done everything we can to them. We get a call, or I get a call, 10:30 p.m. at night, the manager there arrives, sprinkler above the boiler that failed. Fire suppression sprinkler dumped water. It's on the 3rd floor of a 3-story building. Why they stick boilers up there, I'll never know. Every time. So it was 165-degree head. We operate our boilers during the middle of winter, about 180 degrees. This was kind of spring. We get generally down about 140 degrees on our operator temperature. Next week, we checked the boilers, everything checked out fine. No idea. You know, we don't know what caused it at this point. 1 week later, 10:37 p.m., the same exact day of the week, I get another call. We just flooded the building again. We put a 225-degree head in. The same head failed, and we flooded the building again. Did a lot more damage this time. We ended up, over the next few months, you know, we checked our operators, replaced our controls, pulled the boilers down, cleaned them, fired everything back up. And I told my guys, I says, shut down the fire suppression system. Just shut it down, go in there, fire the boilers up at night, or on a weekend, run them through the full gamut, and take the gun, that infrared gun out there. I says, take that with you, and let's see if we can find anything. What it turns out is the boiler, as it would operate and run, it would get up into a hot enough temperature, it was burping steam out. And so what we found, using the gun, is we were seeing, see if I can kind of paint a picture of this room. There's a fresh air duct right here, boiler sits here, another boiler sits here, and the head was right above this boiler, plus we had the return tank right here. So we were burping steam out of that return tank. And there was enough of an air current between this fresh air and the boiler that we weren't getting some air migration through there. So we actually soaked that head in about 260 degrees worth of steam, which popped the sprinkler head. And it was just a fluke, we found it. What we ended up discovering is, over the years, we've done a mechanical project, we've taken the hot water coils out of the rooftop units, put hot water or reheats out throughout the building. Those reheats, the guys hadn't been doing their chemical treatment very well, and so all those little screens that are on those reheat boxes were plugged solid. So I had no water flow throughout the building. And as we started looking, it was pretty general to this one complex, that we started pulling those things, and we spent days. I mean, we're still going back every month and pulling the strainers and cleaning them again. And this is, like I said, this has been a year. So we were able to find it using the tools, you know, and we are required, the same thing. We have a building board requirement that requires us to chemically test. We're supposed to be monitoring the pH levels and everything on our boilers on a weekly basis. We're supposed to have a log on them. We are supposed to have, you know, proof of maintenance. Well, this one unfortunately didn't get covered by risk. We hadn't done our job, so we ended up eating that cost. And that was about probably 140,000, I think, for my final expenses right now. So, kind of scares you as facilities managers, knowing that you're going to be first one called, last one to leave, going to be sued for doing too much, sued for not doing enough, and not covered sometimes for not doing your job. So, it's the reality of it. Yeah, this is what we did. We tore it down, we cleaned it annually. These are our requirements. Test water treatment less than weekly, clean all strainers, ag filters regularly, test all safeties monthly, clean all condensing. Now, I misspelled. I have my own condensing units and cooling towers as needed, maintain all mechanical linkages for equipment. When we get into like cooling towers and everything, we shut them down. We shut our boilers down during the summertime, we shut our chillers down during the wintertime, and we are pulling the end bells off of everything. We have our own, we have the ability to rot them out ourselves. You know, so we're completely cleaning them, acid washing them on an annual basis. Just within that group we did it. So, you know, we have large properties. We have Capitol, I have Governor's Mansion, we've had, you know, we got the electrical fire at the mansion that everybody knows about years ago. What it was the electrical fire. So, you know, not to scare you, but we get them. You have, as far as your ongoing maintenance, which is kind of what I was here to talk about, you know, we have maintenance crews. I have 140 employees scattered throughout the state. They're maintaining everything pretty regularly. Some of the guys are probably my age, so old school, they're, I've got some younger guys, early 20s, early 30s, so it's kind of hard to motivate some of them in that aspect. And then as we get older, it's harder for us to make changes. And I'm guilty of it. So it's been kind of a challenge for us as we look at trying to make sure that our employees are trained, that we're maintaining things as we should be, that all of our documentation is in place. And like I said, some of the guys have been with the division for 30, 35 years. And so why do we need to change? This is the way we've always done it. Well, we have different requirements. The laws have changed, the systems, the technologies have changed. That's hence the tools. They're becoming easier to use. They're affordable. So I guess what I would do is challenge each of you to make sure you're communicating with your employees, make sure that they're properly trained, make sure that you trust them to work on your electrical systems. If they're not electricians, that's a little more complex because it's not a requirement. The code law just says they have to be trained. Doesn't say they have to be licensed, although that's a requirement that I have for my guys. Your mechanical systems, make sure you've got some good HVAC guys, and don't necessarily need to be control guys. You need to have the guys that understand the systems and how the buildings operate, the personalities of the buildings, in order for them to maintain them. In order for them to work on the controls and those types of aspects, you really need to have the skills, that knowledge set there. And it's getting difficult. I mean, there's not a lot of younger guys that really want to get into a facilities management trade. And challenging that is difficult, and training it is difficult. And we're struggling, and I'm sure most of you guys are too. I can tell you right now, within my division, I will have 100% turnover from my position down within 7 years. So, that's kind of catastrophic when you really look at the institutional knowledge that's with some of the guys that I have, and that skill set that's there with some of the guys I have, and trying to bring them in, the younger guys, and train them to be safe and maintain things that you're required to maintain. So, and I'm sure all of you guys are in that same boat. And that's just kind of a trend. As I work with the National Organization for Facilities, we're all in the same issue. So as far as maintenance goes, on our website, you are more than welcome. I'll give you guys a card. You're more than welcome to email me. I have state building board requirements that I'm happy to send out to you. You can kind of see what the state's requiring for maintenance. As far as electrical, mechanical, those types of things, it's kind of hard for me to teach you electrical. I can't do that. But what I can tell you is a lot of the principles, a lot of the tools, and some of those things that you can use and kind of give you a direction. So, I'm happy to do that anytime. I do travel the state, so if at any time, like I said, I'm more than willing to stop in and visit with you as well. So, what are some of the questions you guys might have, and what's affecting some of you guys? I know I was talking to Rob back there with Garfield County, and I know you've got the nursing homes, and that has a whole unique requirement to itself, and then the fairgrounds and those types of things. So, what are some of the other issues that all of you come across that you may be concerned about?
Well, we do a lot of electrical maintenance. I'm with Davis County, and we have, quite a few buildings, but I don't have any licensed electricians that work for us. Just maybe some guidelines from you of where we should stop. We've kind of adopted the replace like for like, type of electrical maintenance. If you can match up the wires with the same thing or replace the same thing. Any other thoughts that you would give us?
We've done the same thing. Generally, If it's maintaining what is already there, we'll let our guys do it. If it's a modification, addition, or change to an existing structure or building, we'll generally bring in a contractor. Like I said, though, I have 7 master electricians that work for me as well throughout the state, so they probably go a little further than what a lot of your guys do. But, you know, it's still the same thing. We're there to maintain the existing asset. So, and we function a little different. I'm a contract service, really. It's not mandatory for state agencies to use me, even though I am a state agency. So we're an option. We have to prove ourselves every year. In fact, I have to go through in front of legislation every year, let them know what our rates are going to be, prove it, justify it, those types of things. So it's an internal service fund or business model is what we operate under. So it becomes a little more challenging, just with the politics of it and everything else.
So you can do building boiler inspections in lieu of state inspections?
No, we use the state boiler inspectors as well, but I do have licensed and certified boiler operators also.
Because you used to have to put out the things, I was saying that the boiler inspectors would come out with cost something.
Right.
And they would certify that our boiler was good.
Right.
And that's what this.
Yeah, the state does the same thing. And I know there's a gentleman here from Hartford that's going to be presenting after me that will probably get into that a little bit more. So we use the same thing. Hartford's who does our boiler, provides boiler insurance for us. They also come out and do the inspections plus the state boiler inspectors. And I do know they've been behind. So I know as we've gone out and done our audits on our facilities, which we do annually, we've noticed that our boiler certificates or operation certificates are not active or in effect. In fact, I have some that are 6 months old. Same with elevators, which is kind of concerning because if I had somebody get hurt in an elevator or a boiler, the liability is ours. So,
On your buildings, are they copper lines or just steel pipe?
as far as plumbing,
Yeah. Because it makes a difference when you're chemically treating them. If you've
Both.
got,
I have
you get
both,
rust and a lot of,
which is exactly what happened on this one. This was cast pipes, basically, steel pipes. So.
You get cleaners and take care of that.
Right.
And some of the cleaners you can leave in there.
Right. Yeah, this one we did. We ran it, dumped it, ran it for a while with water to flush it, dumped it, put chemical back in it again.
What do you do when you dump alcohol? I know usually you put it in the containers, but sometimes you can't do that. So I just want to
We had
store
this
it
one
in
pumped,
alcohol.
this one we had to pump down. So you have that hazardous expense fee. So. What else? Okay.
Our boiler, the glycol, was the one I put the regular glycol. When the guy came to fix it, had a gum open, so he said that what was in there was a regular radiator fluid.
Mm-hmm.
He said that it was fine.
That you put in there?
Yeah,
They're-
I added it to
To the other? Yeah, I know the ones we run is a food grade glycol, or we have some that run nitrate as well. You've got to kind of be careful because some of the new technologies, with the higher efficiency boilers, they require a completely different inhibitor. And so if you're putting the old chemicals into the new boilers, you're going to destroy your boilers. So we did that. We built a new courthouse down in St. George that went on Tabernacle. And the gentleman's here from Wasatch County. And within about 4 months, or Washington County, but within about 4 months, we lost the boiler in there. And we didn't know it. I mean, it was the first time we'd ever used one of these air-cooled boilers, and it's a high-efficiency boiler, and we had the wrong chemical in it. It was easy for us. We went back to the contractor. The contractor said, he was the one that installed the chemical. He goes, I didn't know. They replaced the boiler, replaced all the chemical, repaired all the damage that was done. So you got to really be careful and understand what boilers you have, what chemical treatment you can use, and understand what's going on with the systems you have. So,
I looked in the glycol, so that's what I did. He came, like,
yeah, generally they're more of a food grade. glycol rather than automotive type glycol.
What about pressure relief valves? What's the maximum on a boiler? I guess it depends on boilers.
Depends on boilers,
But,
whether it's low pressure, high pressure, hot water.
we had 60 pounds on it, and somebody said it kept blowing off.
Mhm.
And so it's like put 80s on there, and you don't have a problem.
You know,
So,
yeah, we've tried to go away from steam boilers where we were running the higher pressures. We did that, I'll say about 10 years ago. Started going to strictly hot water, low pressure. And what we found is with the steam boilers, we had to have a certified steam operator on site. So you're paying for somebody to sit there and babysit that boiler all day long. I've seen it on a couple of the colleges still, like College of Eastern Utah. You know, they have those big boilers in their boiler plant that were steam boilers. And I will tell you, they don't have an operator that operates them. So, you know, it's there. You just, again, just understand what you have, understand what that liability is, and then you'll be safe. You know, it'll work out. Yeah,
Is that a state regulation on the steam boiler?
it is.
So
Yeah, the last time I looked, and I haven't looked at it for a while, but it was about 10 years ago when we looked at it. So we had steam up at the Capitol. And that was when we started doing renovations and everything up there to try to get rid of them.
So when the boiler inspector comes around and sees that you don't have someone that's certified,
They should be asking this.
there's some boilers that are tied in with the water heating system.
Correct.
Hey, Jeff, I'd like to know how to get in touch with that, because we have a lot of hard water,
Mm-hmm.
so that's what brings boilers to worst.
Yeah, we have, most of our buildings, we do the same thing. We run through the heat exchangers for the domestic hot water, utilizing the same boilers. We'll generally put a small boiler in and a large boiler. So I can run during the summer months on the small boilers, and then I'll use it as primary, and then if I get into a real cold spell, I'll shut the small one off, turn the large one on, and then I can run both of them if I need to as
Do
well.
you feed these systems with soft water or hard?
Yes,
They go through soft water?
all my makeup water on every one of my boilers is soft water. I don't know that there's a huge advantage for it. I've heard mixed both ways. For us, it's been beneficial. I don't get the chemical or the mineral deposits, the calciums, those types of things, the irons. So I just don't have those deposit problems.
We had a problem with our salt water softener. When we put the tablets in, it went through filters in our kitchen, and it actually caused a glue. Because when they put those tablets together, they put glue them together. They got some stuff that's like glue. And when it goes through your filter systems in your dishwashing machine, it plugs up those filters.
Yeah, it's interesting, like I said, I mean, we were talking about the boiler, but how the technologies have changed, and the chemical treatments have changed, and what you can use with the old and versus the new, and trying to stay up on top of all of that. It's very difficult. You know, unfortunately, there's some pretty good chemical contractors out there that will help you. You still have to have some knowledge, because they will also try to sell you something that don't necessarily need. So that kind of goes back to the training of your employees and making sure that they're doing the things that they were supposed to do. So, you know, and you know, these two horror stories, it's pretty uncommon. I haven't had, I mean, I have 100 or 200 buildings, about 7 million square feet, and I've had two really major losses like this in the 18 years I've been here. So it doesn't happen all the time. You just want to make sure that you're doing everything you can. And that's why, you know, if you can utilize the tools that are available, the training, the employees, and making sure your employees are kind of up to speed on some of the technologies and maintenance techniques, you know, and trying to spark that interest with some of the youngers to fill our positions. I mean, like I said, I'm 7 years, I'm done. So, you know, you want to try and kind of foster that. And, you know, we have maintenance programs, we have educational programs, we put guys through colleges, I give them raises if they go to school, you know, but I still have guys that don't want to do it. And then they'll come to me and say, well, why didn't I get a raise? Go to school. You know? Well, that's my time. You know, I did the same thing. I served an apprenticeship, I went twice a week at night, so, sometimes you gotta make a sacrifice. And getting some of those younger employees to understand that's really difficult. Sometimes. I have some very good ones too, so I can't say it's across the board. What else? What are some of the other things that you guys, what kind of things are you dealing with, other than, like I said, the barns, those types of fairgrounds?
We have no boilers out of our facility. Our electric panels out of the barns take a beating. So we need new covers on them. Put that infrared thing, I'm trying to get one of them for our electrician. The town has their own electrician.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have one, I've never seen it.
Yeah.
That's not.
They're worth it. I'll tell you, they're on state contract. You can go to WW Creator, it's actually a Vista contract, you can buy right off it, so. So they're there, the technology's there, and you can pick the options and the functions of the camera that you want. This one that I sent around the room, when I first bought it, I would send it with the electricians. And one group would have it for a couple months, and then another group would have it a couple months. But I was finding that I still wasn't getting the inspections that I wanted done. So when started looking at some other prices, we had some rebates that we got from our risk management for safety of employees. So I said, all right, this is a good opportunity. So I wrote up the proposal and said, here's what I can do with these. It protects my employees from getting into these panels, and I was able to get our insurance to pay for it. So they bought all of them, with the exception of that one. And so it's, there's means out there, there's ways to go about it, and get those tools for them. And it'll help you. So some of the other requirements we have, and I think I probably got a few more minutes, but we've got, when we talked about reporting and documentation and everything, all of these infrared camera pictures, I overlay them. I have we use a document storage system, but I have my guys go and take that exact same picture every year. And so I can actually look and see what's going on them from a year-to-year basis. They have a reporting function to them as well. So if there's some maintenance that they have to do, we have to shut it down and everything, they'll fill out this report, they'll submit it. We shut the building down on the weekend if I have to, and they'll go in and make the repairs. So there's a lot of different functions like that. It's all documentation. It's helped us as we've gone back. When we've had some risk claims that we've had to file, we can go back and say, here's what I've done, here's the pictures. What can you do for me? Oh, no problems at all. Let's get it taken care of. So I think that's a big thing that, you heard Jesse from Homeland Security talk about it. Documentation. The gentleman from the LDS Church, documentation, preparation, planning. It's key. You're going to have to do that, and it's the same thing with maintenance. And unfortunately, as facilities managers, your feet are the ones that are there at first and the last ones to leave. Your county officials have you on speed dial, I'm sure. I know the governor has me on speed dial. I've had calls 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So sometimes it's the political world we live in, and it's a difficult challenge to balance that critical need versus the political need. So, anything else? Yeah.
At the beginning, you were saying you shut your systems off. Was that recommended for all of them, or should we shut our system off in the summertime for border?
They actually recommend you don't.
Huh?
They recommend you don't.
That's what I was saying.
We do it for energy savings, is our primary thing, plus it gives us an opportunity to turn down the can. But a lot of these large buildings,